Designing a digital product in both light and dark mode is not only a matter of aesthetics. Yes, it does interfere on how the user is going to perceive the brand, but it's not only it. Both themes have their own sets of benefits, as it's going to enhance the experience to the users as the designs are more accessible. And when it comes to accessibility, there is no one size fits all. In this video, we're going to explore the benefits of dark mode and light mode, the unique characteristics of each one of them, and I'll also be sharing on how I go about the process of designing products in both dark mode and light mode interfaces. All right, so let's start with the benefits. Offering a product in both light and dark mode brings only benefits to your user, as you're going to be considering not only their unique needs, but you also be considering their context, how familiar they are with digital products, and also, yes, their style preferences. So let's start with light mode. It reduces eye strain if the user is in a well-lit environment. So that means if they are in a bright room or if they are using the product outdoors. The bright background often enhances the visibility, making the experience of using the product a little bit more comfortable to the user. Another benefit is familiarity for traditional users. People who are used to reading on paper, they often go with light mode as it mirrors that paper-based interface. That's often a more conventional design, so a white background and black text, and not so edgy and modern how we see it these days. One of the standout features of light mode is high contrast. That often enhances the readability to your user, and also from the designer point of view, in my experience, at least in the beginning, I found easier to design on light mode. As colors, they're usually going to pop. And when you're on dark mode, there's just a few extra things that you need to take into consideration. As I mentioned before, designing dark mode interfaces require you to pay attention to specific things. So if you want me to work on a dark mode guide video, let me know in the comments so I can do this. And lastly, there are some studies that shows that light mode actually fast tracks the reading speed of the user and also the accuracy. But don't think there are no reasons to design on dark mode. Dark mode reduces eye fatigue on low light environments. So if the user is using the product in the night or in a closed place, dark mode is going to go easier on the eye. On that note, it also has a lower glare, which is going to make the experience way better for light-sensitive users. Dark mode also often boosts energy efficiency, as it reduces the power consumption on some displays, which can contribute to battery life and hopefully have a lower environmental impact. And also, we cannot deny it, dark mode brings the modern and edgy feel to the product. So if that's something that intentionally the product, the brand that you're working with wants to carry, dark mode is not going to be a bad decision. Now that you understand that both themes, they have valuable benefits to your user, so you should be wondering which one you should design first. Well, there is no right answer for this. But my tip would be for you to start with the one that your user base usually uses the most, and then you go to the opposite theme. But one thing that you should keep in mind is that you should not prioritize one and neglect the other. No. But once we get to the stage where I'll be sharing my process, you'll actually be seeing that with the updates that Figma had last year when it comes to variables, you can actually design both modes almost simultaneously. My only tip is that if possible, you offer both modes to your user. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, there is no one theme fits all. Light mode is going to address some user needs, and dark mode is going to address others. All right. So now let me walk you through the process of designing dark mode and light mode interfaces. In the past, what I'll do is I would have to create all the interfaces in one of the modes, and then I would go ahead and start over with the opposite mode. That was very time-consuming, very tedious, and not very efficient. But in 2023, Figma changed that for us. By introducing variables, you're able to create a variable for each one of your colors. I mentioned in a previous video that I often take the time when I'm about 10 to 20% done with the project for me to go ahead and start creating a more robust design system. That's going to include the colors, and that's going to include dark and light mode. All right, so basically what I start doing is that I categorize the usage of the colors. And then I go to local variables and I start creating the variable for each color. You're going to have the name, and then you can create as many columns as you want with the values. So usually I have one for light mode and another one for dark mode. One thing for you to keep in mind is that when categorizing, I did not specify like blue or yellow or green. I thought of the context in which that color was being used. So, background, so outline, main text, description, titles, logo color. That's going to be very relevant because you're going to notice that when you go to one mode to the other, your color usage changes a lot. It's not simply turning what's white black and what's black white. So once you have your variables set up, you're going to specify, oh, this is light mode. And then you're going to duplicate that screen and you're going to select dark mode instead. Automatically, Figma is going to change the values so you no longer have to change one color at a time. What I like to do at this stage is to use Stark. It's a Figma plugin that I mentioned before that allows you to test different aspects of your design to make sure that it's accessible. So as we're talking about colors, the one that I stick to is contrast. You're going to use the color picker to select the color of the background and the color of the item you're comparing. And it's going to tell you if it's accessible or not. And it's also going to give you some options for you to improve the contrast if it's very low. It's very important that you really take this time for you to set up your variables properly, for you to test using Stark or any other plugin that you find helpful when it comes to accessibility, because it's really about spending some time here so you can really save later down the road. I hope this video has inspired you to keep designing products in both light and dark mode to enhance the experience to all your users. If you made it this far, comment a sun emoji if you usually stick to light mode and a moon emoji if you usually stick with dark mode. I would love to know what your preferences are. And if you want to know about Stark and other Figma plugins that I use on a regular basis, check out this video. I'll see you in the next one. Happy designing!